everyone and welcome back to my channel, and today we have quite an unusual case. Well, unusual in the fact that it's 921 years old. So it's an extremely old case and probably the oldest case I will ever cover on my channel, and it's about William II. It's going to be quite a short video today, quite a basic application because I've got to go to the post office and the lady will look at me weird if I rock up with like blue eyeshadow. So that's enough from me. Let's put some makeup on his face and talk about this case. I always sound really cheesy when I say that. So I wanted to cover this case because I live right next to the New Forest in the south of England, which is a big national park, and that's where today's story takes place. This is probably one of the most famous stories to come out of the area, even though it's like the oldest story to come out of the area. And yeah, I just find it really interesting. To give you an idea of how old the place is, it was proclaimed as a royal forest in the year 1079 by William the Conqueror, but its history dates back to way further back than that, thousands of years. So William was born sometime between 1056 and 1060 in Normandy, France. Oh wow. His father was William the Conqueror, who was the famous French king that defeated the English to ascend to the English throne in 1066. Now, if you're from the UK, you would have most probably definitely learned about the Battle of Hastings in 1066, and so this is the same guy. Well, the dad, William the Conqueror. Oh my god, am I making sense? William II, his dad was William the Conqueror. His mother was Matilda of Flanders. He is later known as William Rufus, but I believe this isn't like his real name or anything, it's a nickname. Rufus is Latin for the red, and William had red hair when he was younger, so hence the nickname. William had three brothers. He had Robert, Richard and Henry, and he also had a number of sisters. And I say a number of sisters because nobody is actually sure whether two of them even existed. Robert was the eldest son, followed by Richard, then William, and Henry was the youngest. Unfortunately, Richard died whilst hunting in the forest in 1075, leaving Robert to be the heir to the throne. Now, usually the eldest son would inherit everything. However, when William the Conqueror died in 1087, he decided to leave Robert Normandy in France and then give the English throne to William. And as you can imagine, Robert was not happy about this. So now there was a divide between the two kingdoms, and the nobles weren't very happy about this. This was because they held land in both England and in Normandy, and now they would have to deal with not just one king, but two. And this made things more complicated for them, I guess, or more difficult. I don't know what they're really moaning about, really. But anyway, Robert knew that the nobles were going to be annoyed at this, so he decided to lead a revolt against King William. And then this would unite the two kingdoms, and he had a lot of backing for this. People definitely wanted this to happen. However, Robert made a bit of a boo-boo. So he talked a good talk, got loads of supporters and everything, but then when the time came to like rally the support together, he didn't show up in England. So people saw this as, well, he doesn't actually care then, does he? So they supported William instead, and the revolt was unsuccessful. William was quite a successful king, actually. He successfully recovered lost lands in France and also territories in northern England that had been under the rule of the Scottish. In 1096, William's brother Robert joined the First Crusades, which was the first in a series of religious wars that were initiated, supported, and at times directed by the Latin Church in the medieval period. The initial objective was to recover the Holy Land from Islamic rule. Now, in order to raise funds for this crusade, Robert pledged Normandy to William in exchange for 10,000 marks, which equated to about a quarter of William's annual salary, or his revenue or something like that. I couldn't work out how much 10,000 marks is in today's money. Like, it was just hurting my little brain. But I roughly worked it out to be around 7 million. But I could be completely wrong on that. I probably am. And there we go. But it was a lot of money. That's what we can take from this. So how did William raise the money? Well, he raised the taxes. And this obviously did not make him very popular amongst his subjects. Another reason why William wasn't such a popular king is because of religion. It was thought that he didn't really take the church seriously. He exploited the church for his own reasons. He didn't agree with the church on certain matters. And religion was, a really big deal back then. If you were seen to be not religious, it was seen to be like a really bad thing. On the 2nd of August, year 1100, William went hunting in the New Forest. Before he set off, a messenger boy delivered a message to him, which in this message there were details of a dream that a monk had had. In this dream, the king would die on this hunt in the New Forest on this day. But William didn't believe in things like dreams and visions and stuff, so he ignored it and he just went off hunting. Now, as this took place, a really long time ago, the accounts aren't like 100%, but it is said that William went hunting with Gilbert and Roger de Clare, Walter Tyrrell, and William's younger brother Henry. Apparently they split up into 2 groups, and William was with Walter Tyrrell, and they were after 2 stags that they had seen, so they were trying to shoot them. The most kind of usual story about what happened next is that William was going after one stag and Walter was going after another stag, and Walter shot an arrow and it hit the deer, but it glanced off of the deer and it went straight into William's chest. William tried to pull the arrow out of his chest, but this made it a whole lot worse for him and he died a lot quicker. Apparently, when the king's body dropped to the floor, everyone that was with him just fled the scene. His body was later found by a peasant, and this man picked the king up, put him on a cart, and took him all the way to Winchester. And at Winchester, he went to Winchester Cathedral, which is where he would later be buried. Now, again, if you don't know distances in this part of the UK, the New Forest and Winchester are not really close. I think if you were driving, it could take you an hour, I guess. So going by car, this would take a couple of days, surely. Now, when you hear this story, it just sounds like a tragic accident, really, doesn't it? A hunt in the forest gone wrong. But when you hear certain facts, it can make you think a little bit differently about the situation. So firstly, the nobles that fled the scene. Walter Tyrrell was supposedly the one who shot the arrow that killed the king. And you can kind of see why he fled, because, if he did do that, surely he would think, oh my God, I'm going to get punished for this. I've killed the king. However, he would later claim that he did not shoot that arrow and that he wasn't even there. So he didn't even go on that hunt on that day. And also, he was supposedly a good friend of William's and was out of the group, was the closest one to him at the time. So that meant that there was no clear motive for Walter to kill William. So Henry, William's younger brother that was on this hunt, he fled straight to Winchester to secure the treasury in order to become king. Now, it is usual custom for the heir to rush straight to Winchester to secure the treasury to become king. Like, that was custom. But many people thought it was weird that, Henry was at the actual scene of his brother and his king's death, and he didn't even go over to see if he was all right or check that he was actually dead, like anything. He just upped and left for Winchester. Seems a bit fishy to me. Henry obviously had a lot to gain if William died, because he was the next in line for the throne. Many people thought that this was a motive for murder and that he could have hired Walter Tyrrell to shoot him. After all, family wasn't exactly Henry's strong point. He once blinded his own nephew as a punishment. So another person that people thought could have had a motive was his other brother, Robert. After all, he was denied the English throne for his younger brother, which obviously it's not great. However, by the time of William's death, the pair had actually reconciled, and they had even named each other's heirs, which was a big deal, obviously. But I'm not sure how that kind of thing works, because obviously Henry became king afterwards, and so did they just not go with William's wishes? Because if he's named an heir, surely it would go to that heir, but then Henry became king, so I don't know. So those that were religious thought that this was an act of God, divine intervention, punishing William for not respecting the church. There was also another... Is that showing up? No. There was also another theory that William was into witchcraft and that he was part of some kind of cult, and I believe the name of the cult was called Divine Victim? Yes, Divine Victim. And that William needed to sacrifice himself in order to replenish the earth. Although there was little evidence of this, and anything written about this was written like decades after his death. Another theory that I thought could be a motive was the fact that it was suggested that William was either gay or bisexual. So William never had a wife and he never had a mistress, which was very rare in these kind of like medieval times and even later, I guess. And then he had no heirs to the throne because he had no children either. This led people to believe that he either took a secret vow of celibacy or that he just wasn't into women. Being gay in those days wasn't as frowned upon as you would think. However, the church forbid it. Now, it could be that the church already hated William for like exploiting the church and not agreeing with them and stuff, that this could have been the like reason or excuse that they could get to get rid of him. After all, nobody wanted to have a king that didn't produce an heir. It just made things more messy, more difficult, complicated. Every theory that I've mentioned has been looked into extensively over the last 921 years, and there is little evidence, apparently, that William was murdered. The thought of a king or queen being assassinated or murdered seems mental in today's time, but you know, going back years, it happened many times, and maybe this is why people were trying to look at it as there must have been something malicious going on, or it must have been murder, because it did happen more often back then. Like, oh my god, can you imagine old Queenie at the moment being assassinated? I'm not thinking of that kind of stuff or anything, just so you know, I was just saying. I said something simple, something I can go to the post office, and on camera it doesn't look too much, but in person, I've got bright pink eyes. Oh well, it's fine. There is a place in the New Forest called Rufus Stone, and this is where they have a monument called the Rufus Stone, and this marks the supposed spot where William died. It was Charles II who decided that this is probably the place where William died, and he erected a stone in William's memory in the 1700s. But if you think about how long ago the 1700s was for us, so that was like 300 and whatever years ago, that's a long time. But then if you think about from the 1700s to when William died, that's 600 years. So how did he even know that this is the place where he died? Like, in 1789, King George III visited the stone and decided that there should be an inscription in the stone. In 1841, you can't really see what I'm doing, can you? I'll be right back. In 1841, the stone was protected with like a cast iron cover after the stone had been like repeatedly vandalised. The inscription on the cover reads, "Here stood the oak tree on which an arrow shot by Sir Walter Tyrrell at a stag glanced and struck King William II, surnamed Rufus, on the breast, of which he died instantly, on the 2nd day of August, 1100. That the spot where an event so memorable might not hereafter be forgotten, the enclosed stone was set up by John Lord Delaware, who had seen the tree growing in this place. This stone having been much mutilated and the inscriptions on each of its 3 sides defaced, this more durable memorial, with the original inscriptions, was erected in the year 1841 by William Sturges, born Walden. King William II, surnamed Rufus, being slain, as before related, was laid in a cart belonging to one Perkis, and drawn from hence to Winchester and buried in the cathedral church of that city. So it has been heavily disputed whether this is the actual place. Many people think that it's like is it a village? Like a village over, like a different part of the New Forest, basically. And that it was just kind of a convenient spot for Charles II to be like, yeah, it was here. But I guess we'll never know, because it was 921 years ago. So what do we think? Do you think that he was murdered, or was it just an accident blown out of proportion? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will be back next week for another video. Thank you.